What's that one story you've always wanted to tell on our AskReddit, but no one has ever asked the right question? I accidentally stole a car. I had just gotten off work. I was working 2 jobs at the time, and I got barely any sleep. I walked out and got into my car, started it up, and started driving home. I didn't realize something was wrong until I couldn't find my aux cord, and then I started realizing that there were things in the car that were not mine, like the child seat in the back. I was an 18-year-old with no kids. I flip a U-turn and bust us back to work to hopefully get the car back before its owner notices it's gone. I didn't. Cops were there and I was very quickly arrested. Owner dropped charges only after 3 things were done. 1. I showed my keys unlocked and started her car, then pointed to my car, which was the same model, color, and year. 2. One of my coworkers vouched for the fact that the customer parked in the spot. I almost always parked in. 3. Camera footage was pulled for the past 9 days. I had work showing that 7 of those days I parked in that spot and the other 2 I parked close to it. My oldest sister has a different dad than myself and my other sister. I never thought much about it and just assumed my parents had her before they got married, because I saw her in the wedding photos. From bits and pieces I've gotten from other members of my family, she was a product of rape and my mom went through the pregnancy. My mom's only sister doesn't believe that because my mom is a bit of a narcissist and a storyteller for attention, which continues to this day. My aunt thinks my mom told my grandpa she was raped so she didn't get kicked out of his house for having the baby out of wedlock. Anyway, I found a website where you can search for any court hearing a person has been to in my home state. I searched my mom, discovered she took my oldest sister's dad to court for child support, discovered his name. He passed away in 2009. Checked out people with the same last name on Facebook that live near me, and it looks like my sister has siblings she doesn't know about. My sister didn't even know her real dad's name until she was in her early 30s and was going back to college. No one knows I know this. We aren't a super open family and we don't talk about this stuff or really anything. I want to tell her so bad, but it's not my place. My sister has had a lot of mental health struggles in her life and she's doing so well now. I can't potentially ruin her success of finally getting to a good place mentally. For now, this is my secret to hold on to. I discovered my oldest sister has siblings she doesn't know about. 6th grade. I had hit a major growth spurt, so most of my clothes didn't fit and my family couldn't afford new ones. Once winter came around, the only jacket I had that I could still fit in even a bit was much too thin to be of any use. My teacher noticed and I walked into class one morning to see a big, fluffy winter coat on the back of my chair and a chicken soup for the soul book on my desk. Her kindness still makes my eyes water, even almost 2 decades later. Miss Robertson, if you're reading this, thank you. I never forgot. Edit. I really never thought I'd say this, but ripped inbox. I posted this late to the thread and thought it would get buried. Didn't think I'd get more than 20 updates and especially not gold. To answer some common questions, this was in the Phoenix, as area, and I've tried to get in touch with her since, but I don't remember her first name, and she doesn't work at the school anymore. My first reaction was to hesitate. I thought maybe someone had come in early to do homework or be tutored or something, and left their stuff, but she saw my hesitation and ushered me over to my seat. I've gotten more than a few comments about how it's an amazing thing that she did so, especially on a teacher's salary. And I agree. It wasn't an inexpensive coat, and I wore that thing until I literally couldn't anymore. My cat went missing one October. We back up to a large farm with tobacco and cornfields, and I suspected he was out there. He was. So I would go out onto the farm late at night to see if he would come to me. When it was quiet and peaceful, he would not. I had to catch that jerk. Can I have a hard trap? After 15 days, I'm out there one night because the moon is full and visibility is better than usual, although it's still a cornfield at midnight, so pretty dark. I was pretty close to one edge of the cornfield, with my back to the fence separating it from the next farm over. It was eerie being out there. If you were still, you could hear 1,000 mice scuttling around in the corn, all around you, and the weird creaking sound corn makes, and the rustling of the leaves, and that's all. Except then I heard a footstep behind me. I paused. I didn't hear anything. I was so sure it had been a footstep. I walked forward. There it was again, 20, 30 feet behind me. One soft, but distinct, footfall. I was unarmed, a girl, alone in a cornfield, being followed. It was pretty much the dumbest I've ever felt. I was like, wow, I'm about to be murdered while looking for my stupid cat, and then I clutched my flashlight close, took a deep breath, and turned around suddenly. There were about 15 horses standing there, just on the other side of the fence, staring at me. When I turned the flashlight on them, they scattered like cockroaches and thundered back to their barn. I guess they had noticed me creeping through the field next door, and they all crept over to see what I was up to, in near total silence. I swear, all I heard out of all those horses, before they galloped away, was 2 small footsteps. I live in a small rural town. When I was 7, my parents let my older sister and I ride our bikes about 3.5 miles into town to get lunch at the only restaurant in town, which my mom's cousin owns. I didn't realize how long of a ride 3.5 miles was, and was hot and tired and crabby, and burned my tongue on my burger, so I threw a fit and refused to ride my bike home. A stranger overheard my sister and I arguing about this and offered me a ride home. He said he could just put my bike in the back of his truck and everything would be fine. My sister agreed because she didn't want to have to call my parents to come pick us up, and she was tired of my whining, and also she was 10 years old and dumb. I realized on the drive home that I hadn't given the man directions or told him my name, but he somehow knew my name and where I lived. He dropped me off at home, helped me put my bike in the garage, and then drove down the road to go visit my grandparents. It turns out, the man was my grandpa's brother, one of 12 siblings. He recognized me because I looked just like my mom did at that age. I had been working a job under the table and was let go. They gave me a month's pay in cash as severance. I was in shock, and not having internet at the time, this was in dinosaur times, before iPhones. Went to a local internet cafe downtown run by the same company that runs EasyJet, actually to update friends and family on what happened. As I'm typing, I noticed someone in my peripheral vision crouching down by my chair. I'd like to think the suddenness of having lost my job is why it takes a minute for it to click. I look down, and my backpack is missing. I turn and see the guy heading upstairs to the ground floor and the exit. Not really thinking things through, I tear after the guy. I get to the top of the stairs and see him walking outside, and have a moment of panic that he is going to hand my bag off to an accomplice. But no, I manage to catch up to him, and, again, not really considering how badly this could backfire, grab him and start yelling at him. Fortunately, he didn't have a weapon, which was extremely lucky for me. Instead, he silently gave me back my bag and then just walked away up the street. I was so hyped up on adrenaline that I just stood there shaking for a while before I went back inside to finish up. When I got back to the chair, I double-checked that my personal stuff like a digital camera were still there, because I had heard sometimes they'll snake what they can from it first in case they get caught. Fortunately, everything was there, including the envelope with my severance in it. I had totally forgotten about it up until that point. It was basically the only time I had ever carried that much cash on me, almost $2,000, and it happened to be the day I was almost robbed. This is my favorite story about my husband. For a little bit of context, my husband went to an Ivy League school. He's usually a very smart dude. He and I take turns picking TV shows to binge on. Me, I want to pick Law and Order. Special victims you need for my next show. Him, I don't know. It's not really my thing. Me, what? You love crime shows? Come on. I love SVU. It's one of my favorite shows ever. Him completely incredulous. Really? I've only seen one episode, but it was really weird. He eventually capitulated, and we started watching SVU. A few episodes in, he admits that he's enjoying it, and that it wasn't what he thought it would be like. We watch a few seasons, and finally get to an episode that starts like this, paraphrasing. Lady, I need to report a crime. My daughter's been raped, she's pregnant. Detective Stabler. How old is your daughter? Lady, she's 22. Stabler. Well, ma'am, your daughter is an adult so she can file her own report. Lady, why don't you come meet her? At this point, my husband says so. This is the only episode I'd seen. Detective Stabler approaches the woman's daughter, who is looking down, her hair covering her face. I'm Detective Stabler, he says. The girl looks up. She has Down syndrome. My husband pauses the episode. So, because this is the only episode I had seen. And the show is called Special Victims Unit. I about pissed myself laughing. He really thought there were hundreds of episodes of Law and Order dedicated to solving crimes against the handicapped. I love him, but damn. The camera in the woods. In front of my townhouse building growing up was a wooded area within a massive drainage area. My friends and I were trying acid for our first time at my house when we were 17. Standing outside, and we see this little red light in the trash like a camera. Tell them we must be tripping because I would have noticed that before. It's too dark to go and investigate. Next day, I don't see the light and kind of forget about it. Graduate, go to college and come back for a visit. My parents' friend was living with them since house was empty. Think my parents are swingers BTW. Since their kids are gone. Their friend and I are standing outside smoking a bowl because my parents dislike smoking. He asks if I've noticed the light in the woods. We went to investigate in the morning and saw nothing. No camera in the daylight nor red light. The next night, 3 more years pass and it turns out one of the neighbors was spying on his wife, who wasn't cheating, but became obsessed with spying and moved on 2 neighbors and co-workers through recordings. The camera was disappearing because he had a stringy pulley system thing from a tree to his window and must have noticed people pointing to the trees towards his camera through left feet. It was clear fishing line and that's how no one noticed. My neighbor caught him because the pull system broke and the camera fell into her car windshield. Cops were never called. Just a lot of head ducking after that. This is the story of my absolute worst Tinder date. So I meet this girl I'd been chatting to on Tinder for a midweek, post-work drink. Everything is going swimmingly. She's funny, smart, super hot and into me. It starts getting late and she invites me back to hers. Awesome. I accept, we book an Uber, and off we trot. She lives miles away. It's a full 45-minute journey in the cab into the arse end of nowhere in a random part of the city, to the house she shares with a friend of hers. Not a problem, there are plenty of options for me to get to work the next day, so we just make out a lot in the cab to pass the time. Get back to hers around 1 a.m. Creeping past her housemate's room to get to hers, where sex happens. Result: I'm feeling pretty good about what I thought was pretty fucking good sex, until she reaches for her phone midway through. Confusing, especially since she didn't exactly wait for a lull in the action. I am literally inside her as this happens. She dials a number and puts it to her ear. Who are you calling? I ask, unsure whether to withdraw. I do not withdraw. I'm just calling my boyfriend, she says. I think, unsure how exactly I should feel about this. I raise a number of pertinent points with her in response, including but not limited to, you have a boyfriend? You didn't tell me that, and why the merry fuck are you calling him at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night, while you are literally having sex with a guy you met on Tinder? I do not withdraw. Putting her finger to my lips, she says, matter-of-factly, shh, it's ringing. I go quiet, while still, doggedly, not withdrawing. The conversation between her and her boyfriend is hard to recount here, but the gist of it is that she tells him, very directly, exactly what is going on, and then invites him over for a threesome. Now with a bit of warning, I would probably have given a twos-up some serious consideration, but not at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday with someone I just met and another participant, who I've never actually met. I withdraw. Before I can say thanks so very much for the offer, but I fear I must politely decline. Her boyfriend responds, he is furious. Furious that she's having sex with another man. Furious that she felt the need to call him midway through. Furious that she would invite him over to join. Generally, and quite rightly, not at all happy with the situation. They proceed to have a blazing row, while I kind of hang out there feeling a little bit stupid and trying to figure out how the fuck I'm going to get home from this place very, very far away from where I live in the middle of the night. She hangs up. I have to go and fix my relationship with my boyfriend. He lives around the corner. I'll be 30 minutes max. Just hang out here, sure. Okay. Why the fuck I decided to stay and not just run away is beyond me. But the bed was comfortable and the thought of a midnight mission to the other side of town did not fill me with good feelings. She leaves. I wait up for about 10 minutes before I fall asleep. I awake to my alarm. She hasn't come back, and I'm alone. Exactly where she left me. Probably for the best. I make a quick dash for the bathroom for a shower before I head to the office. Passive-aggressively used her good shampoo and the nicest towel I can find. I am wrapped in said towel as I leave the bathroom to get changed to go to work. This is when I meet the housemate. Who are you? She says, accusingly. She is small but clearly very angry about a strange man in her shared bathroom. I'm Mrs. Notariat. I was here with your housemate last night, I say, very conscious that I am in a towel in her hallway. You're not her boyfriend. She says, oh, I know. Trust me. I say, I'm in a towel in the hallway. Where is she? This is totally unacceptable, she says. Well, she's not here. Long story, I say. Still in the towel in the hallway. I don't believe you. Have you broken into my house? The conversations breaks down there as she starts screaming. She runs around the house to make sure things haven't been stolen, and finds my clothes in her housemate's room. She picks them up and flings them out of the front door, screaming that she's going to call the police. She yanks the towel off me in the process. I get dressed on the street in the middle of the fucking London winter as two acidic mothers taking their children to school walk past. Perfect. Call a cab, go to the office, swearing never ever to use Tinder ever again and that I should never ever go back to this part of town in case the police arrest me and put me on one of a number of potential lists. A week later I hear from the Tinder date, a single SMS, reading I have your sock. That's it. Good luck and Godspeed to you, crazy Tinder girl.